And I say, aloha.
Aloha. Oh, well, it's lovely to see you all. I'm glad you've decided to join us, and I think you'll find this session interesting. We've done this before, but I don't think in this group. So it'll be
It's a new group
be
all the time anyway. So,
right. Uh-huh.
and it's Monday, January the 16th, where we're sitting. Tuesday, January 17th, for our friends in Asia. And the class is called something like Inner Work and Relationships. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. It's part of a series that we've been doing on supporting people in becoming more resilient.
Mhm.
And also, one of the key features that we learned in our research for this class and in our own experience is that relationships are a real key to resilience and well-being. And so
Mhm.
that's why we're taking several weeks to dive into building relationship skills.
Mhm.
So thank you all for being with us today. And I see a request from Vivek to be in listen only mode today. That's also fine. I'm going to put you into a different room because of that request. If you usually we ask folks to put an equal sign in front of your name or let us know somehow that you don't want to be in a small group. Um, so that's fine. I've done that now. And anything else you want to say before we get started?
Well, just to say that I feel very tender today. Yesterday, a dear person who's part of our community, a close part of our community, passed. He was in his 80s. It was not a surprise, but I do notice a certain tenderness in me. There's a mourning, there's a loss, and I'm also thankful that this person is not suffering anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you want to say anything about how you feel?
Oh, well, now I feel a little more tender,
Yeah.
and this particular person is, thank you for the message in the chat. This particular person, as Jory mentioned, was a dear friend,
Mhm.
and he was the husband of another NBC trainer
Mhm.
that has been a certified trainer since 1989. It's her fault that we live in moved from New Mexico to Hawaii because she was ready to retire in order to care for him, and that was now more than 12 years ago.
Mhm.
So we're in a way I miss him already, and in another way I really notice that he's still right here in my heart, even more present than ever. And so I'm very grateful for the influence he's had on my life.
Mhm.
And he's probably here celebrating with all of us that this in the United States is a national holiday devoted to nonviolence, at least in my mind. And it's Martin Luther King Day here. And so I'd like to just start before we actually dive into the whole class with 1 minute of
Thank you.
silence to honor all the people who have died and given their lives and their life energy in the service of nonviolence. So if you would like to join me for 1 minute of silence.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your accompaniment.
If you're here for the first time, a special warm welcome to you. I'm always curious how people discover us, and if you want to let us know in the chat, that would be really fun. And this is a nonviolent communication practice group, so we really focus a lot on practice, and we have several practices designed for you today. In a moment, we'll start with what we call a self-connection exercise, which today is a song. We're going to listen to a song together, and I'll put the lyrics up on the screen so you can follow along if you like. And then we'll break into small groups after that, give you a chance to talk about one particular aspect of the song and one concept that's in the song. Then when we come back together again, we have some practices that we intend to guide you through to explore some of the other things in that song that are related to relationships and resilience and inner work. And so there'll be parts of the class will be together here in the large group. Other parts will be in small groups, usually 2, 3, or 4 people in those small groups. And again, if you're just coming in and you don't want to be in a small group, you can put an equal sign in front of your name and you'll end up in another small group, but it's just all the people that have equal signs in front of their name. So there's no expectation that you would do anything in there. So unless there's any questions or anything.
You will not yet.
Oh no, we'll get to play the song first. So
Okay, all right.
I need to drive the mouse for just a second
Yes,
to
dear.
get the song ready. So here comes the song. It's written by an old friend of ours, Jai Michael Joseph. And this is a song that was a part of the community where Jory and I met about more than 40 years ago now. And so I hope you enjoy it. And I don't think I'm going to be able to play the song and put the lyrics on. So we'll go over the lyrics afterwards. So, because I see now that's a limitation in this particular program of Zoom. So here comes the song.
Darling, you know I love you, but living with you every day, there's times I feel so mad I just wanna shout. I put myself above you and tell you how you should be, but there's a better way for us to work it out. I'll work on me and you work on you. That's the only way I know to keep love shining through. And I'll keep working on me no matter what you do, 'cause I don't ever wanna stop loving you.
Sometimes I think you're crazy, putting the blame on me when nothing's going like you want it to go. Sometimes I get so lazy and just want you to change, but that kind of change is never gonna help me grow.
I'll work on me and you work on you. That's the only way I know to keep love shining through. And I'll keep working on me no matter what you do, 'cause I don't ever wanna stop loving you. Sometimes you start crying about all the hurt you feel, and I feel sad when I see you in distress. Oh yeah, and there is no denying I'd rather see you smile, but I can't bring you joy and happiness. I'll work on me work on you. That's the only way I know to keep love shining through. And I'll keep working on me, no matter what you do. 'Cause I don't ever wanna stop loving. I don't ever wanna stop loving. I don't ever wanna stop loving you.
Brings back a lot of
Oh,
memories.
God, yeah.
Yeah, so probably went by pretty quickly, but what I'd love for you to connect about in the first small group is, what does it mean? What does it mean to work on you? What does it mean, I'll work on me? What does inner work mean to you? And so the idea would be in small groups that you just check in, say, hey, my name's Jim. I live in Hawaii and I'm feeling glad to be here. And what inner work means to me is blah, 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 quack, 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 whatever it is for you. And then that's your chance to practice honest expression. And for the other one or two or three people in your small group, that's their chance to practice empathy. So the request is that you just listen with an open heart and an open ear. You don't need to reflect anything or give any kind of feedback or any advice or any of those kinds of things. Just listen. And when that person's done, then they pass the baton on to the next person and for their check-in in response to the question, what does inner work mean to you? And honor, go around, make sure that you hear from everybody. We'll do this for 11 minutes plus 1 minute at the end. So a little bit longer than usual because you might even have a chance to do 2 rounds. After you hear from people, it might clarify something that you didn't say the first time around. So again, the request is that you have a chat about what does inner work mean to you. And we'll see you back here in 12 minutes. Yep.
The timer will go off.
And anybody want to share anything in the large group about what you're harvesting from that small group experience, the discussion about what it means to do inner work? Just raise your hand if you'd like to speak. If you don't know how to raise your hand, on the bottom of your screen, there's a happy face with a plus sign that says reactions. If you click on that, then it opens up a little menu and you can raise your hand. Love to hear at least from 2 or 3 people, if you're willing to share. What does it mean to you to work on yourself?
Kinneret has arrived. Hi, Kinneret.
Anybody want to share anything?
Yeah, I'd like to share.
Okay, go ahead, Sherlock.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So that's a very deep question. Inner work. What does that mean, inner? And that's what we're deliberating on. What's inner work? And so where I went with that question was to ask what it means for me to be a human being. And there's a Jesuit paleontologist, his name is Pierre Teilhard, and it says, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. Rather, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So what that means to me is that if you want to see me, this thing you're looking at is not who I am. This is not my reality. This thing is not me. So that there is a statement in the Bible that I'm just beginning to pay attention to the Bible recently. It says, God is a spirit, and they that worship God must worship him in spirit and in truth. So that requires some reflection. And I've been doing that. And I've just made an acquaintance with the man from Nazareth called Jesus Christ. I'm beginning to experience him. It's hard to explain it to people, but I've recently begun to experience the presence of this man from Nazareth. And I'm feeling a lot more, a kind of peace and serenity that I never experienced before. And I'm feeling more formidable, and I'm feeling guided. I feel like I'm being guided by an intelligence, which is not mine. I know I'm not that intelligent.
Yeah.
I, for example, had been a member of the NVC over 10 years ago, and I just came to the first NVC session with a woman, Arnina.
Arnina
Oh,
Cashton, yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I met her yesterday in this class. And it's a journey called a compass. And the whole idea, I'm waking up to the idea that there have been unmet needs that I did not pay attention to.
Yeah.
And that's really, and I've been looking for community, authentic community. And I think I got some, I think I'm really tickled by what has happened since yesterday, in terms of being met and being held well by people who are asking sensitive questions rather than the hostility that I used to observe.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I feel like and this is one of the reasons I'm here today. I'm here because my colleague, a woman who I had gotten in NVC work over 10 years ago, she told me about your session this evening, and I thought I should be. I would be well served to spend my time with this here. So that's kind of like what's happening for me.
Thank you
So
very
those are
much,
my
Sherlock. Really glad you're here, and I really catch that for you, inner work is a spiritual experience. It's really
Indeed.
about tapping into finding your source, the source of your wisdom, the source of your connection, your spiritual connection.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for speaking up so we get to know you a little bit. We try and get to know everybody here and love it when you speak up.
Got time for one or two more? If anybody, yeah, go ahead, David.
Hello. I always like to contribute to sharing, so keep the ball rolling. When I looked at inner work, I thought about something I learned from a woman rabbi that I like to listen to her teachings, and she had mentioned that in order to develop, in order to love our higher power, Yahweh, in order to love other people, we have to love ourselves. So she had taught the basic, if anybody's ever done journalism questions, to ask ourselves, to ask our higher power, and to ask other people who are important to us. The 5 journalism questions, who are you and your essence? What makes you happy? What makes you joyful? Where is it that you're most sensitive? Where is it that you're most strong? When I do this, how does that impact you? How can I be a servant to you, whether it's my fellow person or my higher power? And why questions, like when I do things that are going to detract from my inner peace and serenity, I ask myself, why did you do that? What motivated you? So I ask the journalism questions in my inner work, and always try to, before I engage in any sort of feedback with a person, to know them well. And that's another thing that I learned from my rabbi, is before I would make any sort of statement about a person and about our relationship, just to make sure that I know the person very well, and suspend any sort of comment or feedback prior to investigation, because contempt before investigation is not good. I think
Right.
Aristotle said that, but I'll
Right.
pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
What I catch from you is the power of inquiry, the power of using questions as a method of inner work. And so we got time maybe for one more. If anybody else is burning to share anything, go ahead, Monica.
Hi, it's good to see everyone. Thank you for that question. It's a lovely question. I'm enjoying the process of thinking about what actually inner work means to me. And I really think that for me is to learn to take full responsibility for how I respond to life. And it's really taken a work on self-awareness, learning to recognize and accept my emotions and how I feel, and and taking responsibility on how I respond, how I respond to life and to people. And I'm hoping that the outcome is to be able to see through the people's choices of how communication, even when they're wrong, into their what Marshall and you guys teach and demonstrate, their thoughts and feelings.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's why I appreciate this community so much, and the two of you and what you model, and because this is my understanding of inner work is what you guys do, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, Monica. I like what you share, and I like the emphasis on self-responsibility, on learning to take responsibility as the fruit of inner work. It's both the path and the fruit. All right, so let's go ahead and practice some more. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to be looking at a few of the specific lyrics in the song that we listened to at the very beginning. And the first line that we're going to investigate is, I put myself above you and tell you how you should be. And so think of a time when you judged someone that you're in relationship. It could be a romantic partner, could be a business partner, could be a family partner like a child or a parent, could be a neighbor. But think of a time when you had a moral judgment of another person, and pick something that's, on a scale of maybe 1 to 5, pick something at the level of a 2, so that you can really stay present for the practice. Think of a time that when you judge somebody, and then write down just what was the judgment that you had. I'll be quiet for a minute while you do that. You don't have to share this with anybody, so it's private. Then the second step, say the judgment to yourself 3 times. And then notice what you notice in your body. And then take a minute or two and report to yourself in your notes, what do you notice in your body? So first you notice it, and then name it for yourself. Write down what you notice in terms of physical sensations and emotions in your body when you talk to yourself with moral judgments like this. I'll be quiet again for a couple of minutes. Next question. What do you prefer? What's your wish? What would you love instead? So, for example, I'll go through the whole process with you for clarity. So, let's say my judgment of the other person is that they're disorganized, and so what do I wish for in relationship to this other person? Well, I wish for more organization. I wish for more order. So let me just check to see if that's at the level of depth that I really want to be at. I want to make sure that I go down to the level of universal human needs. So if the other person was more organized, what would that give me? It would give me a sense of cooperation. And if I had a sense of cooperation, what would that give me? So now I'm kind of connecting to two needs: the need for cooperation and the need for order. And what I sense in my body is what I'd really love is it's inner peace. I'm longing for a sense of inner peace. So now I'm at the level of universal human needs, longing for inner peace. So I love it when I experience inner peace. I love it when I experience inner peace. Okay, so you try that now. See if you can transform your moral judgment into what you prefer, what you wish. And again, say that sentence to yourself 3 times. I love it when I experience inner peace, or whatever it is for you. Say that to yourself 3 times. And notice what effect that has on your body when you talk to yourself with a language of value judgments or needs. And again, take a couple of minutes to reflect and write about that.
Jim, you're cutting out. Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. The suggestion is that you say the new form of judgment to yourself, the need, what you would love to have. Say it to yourself 3 times, and then check to find out how that lands in your body when you talk to yourself that way. So take some time to really be with your body, especially with this last step. Marshall Rosenberg called this savoring, to really be with the body based experience of needs. He called it divine energy, beloved divine energy. So this is a chance to just slow down and have a mindful moment to be with what you prefer, the energy that you prefer to live in, what you love. I notice I naturally put my hand on my heart. I don't know if that's because I trained myself to do that, but I find it as it's like a signal for myself to more deeply connect with this beloved divine energy. So I'd love to hear some voices about what you noticed in this experience. What do you notice in terms of the contrast between what your body feels like with a moral judgment of right or wrong, good and bad, and when you notice the difference between that and what happens when you speak to yourself with a language of needs? And again, if you'd like to raise your hand and share your experience, we'd love to hear from a few people.
I can share.
Great, go ahead.
So I had a big shift from the body being tense to after connecting, I had a smile and relaxed shoulders, and I saw the person I was judging in a totally different light, and I was savoring the beauty of the needs that I wish and I want to live with that energy, that beauty of those needs. I was savoring that.
Thank you, Majida. Somebody else, please. Go ahead, Tanya.
I call this the Jim and Jory hat trick. To switch from what I don't want to what I do want, and then savoring it is, I've just found it in so many different situations to be a complete game changer, not only for myself, but with people who are talking about what they don't like. It's amazing. I mean, I had in my Tuesday night group, we had 8 people go from grouchy and unhappy to joyful in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Celebrate.
Yes. Yes, I think Tanya's pointing to a really important point, although our goal is not necessarily to change another person or change their experience or anything like that. When we work on ourselves, when we do that work of inner transformation, it has an effect in the world. It has an effect on our relationships. It even has an effect on pets. It has an effect on plants. And so the more of us that are doing this quality of inner work, of transforming moral judgments into value judgments, the more we're going to be contributing to peace. That's why every single one of you is a peace worker, and that what you do matters. Anybody else want to share? Yeah, go ahead, Marta.
So I have a question about this exercise because it's so powerful. So are you saying that I start with a judgment and I have certain things that I want and I'm not getting it, that if I go into what I want, which was love and connection, then I don't have to really change that other person. that I've already created the intention of love and connection and being honored. So that energy is put out into the world because that's what I want. And so I not only changed my own self because I softened, but that goes out and affects everyone. Is that what you're saying?
That's my experience. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, so it's a big wow. And it's the power, it's actually the power of language. We human beings have evolved this capacity for language. As far as we know, we have the most advanced language of any other animal on the planet. We haven't figured out how to talk to
As
anybody
far
else
as
yet.
we can tell.
We can barely talk to ourselves, but
Yeah.
but we've also an artifact or a consequence of developing language in conjunction with a domination system that we all inherited, where moral judgment is kind of how we guide our lives. We end up using language to separate ourselves from others, to making other people wrong, to making ourselves right, or vice versa. And so we speak this language of good and bad, and right and wrong, appropriate, inappropriate, and so forth. And the beauty to me of this particular process, which I want to give credit to Mary McKenzie, another certified trainer and the founder of the NVC Academy, the simplicity of this transformation to go from what I'm resisting and judging to simply what I would want instead, what I would love to have in my life, and to see the power of how that affects my body to change myself, how it changes me to change my language. And it's I mean, it's been one of the most transformative and powerful experiences I've ever had in my life, is simply to transform a moral judgment into a value. I don't even have to make the moral judgment wrong. I can actually welcome the moral judgment.
Yeah, it's a signal. It's a wake-up call.
So if I end up thinking that Jory should change, or I have some kind of
It's not going to happen.
some kind of a moral judgment, then I'm actually, once I do this transformation, I become grateful that she's exactly the way she is, because now I have been able to do some transformational inner work to grow a heart big enough that includes Jory to be just the way she is. And then, so Jory's not the only person in the world that shows up like this. It might be the person at the post office, or the person at the grocery store, or somebody else that has a similar behavior that used to irritate me, but now won't irritate me quite so much because I'm connected to what I would love to happen. I've taken this extrinsic behavioral change that I demand other people to have, and I've transformed it into an inner preference, a need, a value that's important to me. And I can see, just like Marta said, I can see that I can cultivate that value in myself and take responsibility. This is taking responsibility for me, that I can take responsibility and start creating that right now, not in some future time when I'm enlightened, but right now. So, I saw somebody had their hand up and they just disappeared. So I want to see what you had to say.
If you still want to speak.
Oh, there you are.
Is,
Go ahead, Carol.
And Jim.
Hi. Yeah, I got a little scared to say what I was going to say. So are you saying that what you would, if there's a situation that you're not happy with, you still would like it different? It's just a whole different shift on looking at it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, because sometimes, I don't know, we get into like accepting what is, and then what happens to where our needs are.
Right.
So how do you make that all?
It's the difference between caving, okay, that's the way it is, and some acceptance, that is the way it is. You still have choice, but that is the way it is.
And it's not the end of the NVC practice. It's the beginning. Once you're connected to a need, like let's say that my need is inner peace, which is what I came up with when I did the practice. So, okay, so my need is inner peace. Now, Jory can't give that to me, right? I can give myself that intrinsic need, but joy can help to contribute to it. So I might come up with a request that could support some quality of inner peace, especially if it has to do with some kind of something in the environment. Like, let's say that I love it when the top of the compost container is put onto the compost or something like that. So, so if I notice that the top of the compost container isn't on there, I've got some choices. I could complain, oh, you forgot to put the thing on the thing again, and you're just such a, fill in the blank with the moral judgment. Or I could take some responsibility and just put the top on the on the compost for now, but also have a talk about it later.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can become a point of dialogue. I know you love me and I know you want to make life more wonderful for me. How would it be for you to consider doing the best you can to put the top of the compost on when you're finished with it? How would that be for you? And so then she might say, I'll do the best I can, or she might, who knows what she would say, but we're in dialogue now rather than me just stashing it or being angry and resentful that it never happens. So for me, this first practice is foundation building for future dialogue. Does that make sense, Carol?
Yes, and as you were speaking, I realized there's a step before that, which is self-empathy for having that need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I judge myself that I shouldn't have that need,
Yes.
or I've been told I'm too sensitive,
Right.
when I was,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have that need. So then I feel like I'm in a battle before I even say anything.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We call that putting the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important that we build our own resilience back, especially when we're feeling like it's a strange or challenging situation. Self-care is primary.
And you can set yourself up for more self compassion by doing that savoring exercise. Because when you begin to see that, oh, order is a lovely thing. I love it when there's order, or I love it when there's inner peace, or I love it when fill in the blank, and you savor that, then that gives you access. It's a way of sharing power with the entire world, because everybody has that need. If you're at the level of universal needs, everybody's got it. That means it's okay that you have it. Of course, you have a need for order. Of course, you have a need for peace. Of course, you have a need for love. You're lovable with those needs. So it's a savoring practice that helps to build the foundation for you to be able to love that you have needs.
Yeah, and it's tricky because you say I love it when, but they haven't yet, kind of thing, and just to notice the difference between just putting the attention on yourself of I really value something. This is important to me, separate from even this situation. This is important to me. I love it when. And then, okay, then now what can I do to support the situation as opposed to just, oh, you're wrong, you did something. Yeah.
Does that feel complete for you, Carol, or is there more you want to say?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it forward.
Okay, so now let's turn it around and go to the next practice. Because the next verse in the song has the line, sometimes I think you're crazy putting the blame on me. So now we're on the receiving end of the moral judgment. And so how do you know when your partner, and again, it doesn't have to be a romantic partner, it can be any kind of partnership. How do you know when your partner is blaming you? What's the observation, as we would say in NVC, or what do you hear? What's a specific example of a time when you had the sense that a partner or a relationship was blaming you? What do you hear? And then write that down. Joy is just pointing out it might be something that you see too, like a particular look in somebody's eye.
right.
Yeah. Stink eyes, we call it in Hawaii. Okay. You can, again, now go to the body. What do you notice in your body when you hear or see the nonverbals associated with this message? What do you notice in your body when you hear this message? If you're new, let me just explain what we're inviting you to look at here. And the easy way to get there is you look at sensations. You're not looking at sensations, you're feeling sensations. You just notice any sensations in your body. It could show up as tightness, as heat, as constriction, as openness. Could also show up as an emotion like hurt or anger. Sometimes people say, I don't feel anything. That's a feeling. We just call it numb, or I call it I don't feel anything. That's okay. Just start wherever you are and you just notice that and then name it for yourself. Mhm. Mhm. And then again, notice first and then name. So take a moment and write down just for your own clarity what your experience is. Then the third question to consider, what's important to you in the moment when you hear that message? What's important to you? You can even use that sentence from the first exercise. What would you love in that moment? What's your need? It's the classic way of talking about it in NVC. Or what do you value? Any of those work to get to the level of universal human needs. And then once you're connected to the need, just to check to make sure you're at the level of universal needs, you could, like, let's just say that something that's really common in my experience when I get a message like this that I don't particularly enjoy is I tell myself I need respect, right? That's on the almost everybody's needs list is respect. But often it sounds like it's something that the other person has to do. They have to respect me. So I can go a little bit deeper and I could ask myself, if the other person respected me, what would that mean to me? So I just check there. Okay, so if the other person respected me, that would mean that I matter. Okay, so now I just noticed something really shift in me when I get to the level of mattering. Now it's something that it's a little bit mixed. It's kind of about an extrinsic. I want to matter to them, but I really want to matter to myself too. So if I really matter, what does that mean to me? And the word that comes up is I exist. I exist as a human being. So that somehow that connects me to self-compassion, to have compassion for myself as a human being. Now that feels like the level of a universal need to me in my experience. So you check to find out what it is about for you. Okay. So love to have you have the chance to talk to friends about this, to share something about your own experience. So we're going to go back to small groups for about 15 minutes this time to give you a chance to talk either about this exercise or the first exercise or both exercises, whatever's alive in you about this way of doing inner work, to take responsibility for what's going on in your relationship.
And there's been a little movement in the groups. Some of you might find that you're in a different group than you were before because there's sort of comings and goings and keeping the groups as balanced as I can.
And we'll see you back here. The timer will say 14 minutes. There'll be 1 extra minute at the end. So we'll see you back here in 15 minutes.
And you'll come back automatically. You don't need to press any buttons.
Okay, here we go. Let's hear from at least one person about how this is living in you right now, what you're noticing, especially if you haven't yet spoken. What have you learned? That would be one way that you could answer the easy question. What have you learned so far? Or what are you taking away? Go ahead, Leslie. And then Kinneret.
Yeah, just that adding that I love it when was very helpful. It totally shifted my state of mind from wanting my somebody that lives here to put on a helmet. He has seizures. To like taking that should away to, oh, I love it if you put a helmet. It would be so wonderful to know you are safer, and have more ease. We'd have more collaboration. We could relax. So that was like a whole different state of mind.
Wow.
And being respectful, because of her not doing it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Leslie. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
That's the world I want to live in.
Darn
Yeah.
it. He'll give me the time again.
And just remember that line.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Kinneret.
Kinneret.
Well, it's interesting because for me, the exercise, you know, brought a lot of pain as I was sitting with the judgments. And then it was hard for me to shift to the needs. However, when I was speaking in the group, what was nice was when I received a reflection that showed, that connected with something that I said. And just that connection, you know, was the shift. It wasn't really me looking at the needs. It was being heard.
Yes, it was being
Yeah,
heard and accompanied.
being caught in that. Oh,
Yeah.
it makes such a difference.
Sometimes self-empathy is not enough. We really need partnership. We need an empathy buddy. We need some kind of community.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad that that happened for you, so that we could talk about it here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll finish with Juliana and do the next practice. Go ahead, Juliana.
So I wanted to thank you, Jim and Jory, because what I got today is how if I want something different in the relationship, I have to take responsibility for my longing, put that energy out there in the world, because only I can meet my needs, and you can only contribute to me to that. So the responsibility is mine.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for that realization and clarity.
You're
And
welcome.
yeah, it kind of fills me with so much hope. Yeah, hope and energy.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I
Thank you.
love the word responsibility. When I remember that it means the ability to respond. The word responsibility often feels like sounds like a have to or a should. We probably, a lot of us been raised with that. But the ability to respond. Yep. It's liberating.
Wonderful. Thank you, Juliana. Let's do another practice. We have time for another one. Maybe we'll get them all three of them in today. We'll see. So now there was a line in the song that says, "I feel sad when I see you in distress."
Mhm.
And when I first heard the song, I didn't quite understand the lyrics. I thought it said, "I feel sad when I see you in that dress." And
Are
but
you
then,
kidding?
yeah,
Yeah, I thought you were.
yeah, no,
Oh,
that
you
was
really
true.
did?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It
funny.
took me a while till I actually got the lyric. But anyway, so I feel sad when I see you in distress. And if you're anything like me, when your partner or your kid or your parent or somebody else is upset, it often triggers mourning in me. And sometimes it even goes to, I want to try to fix it. And but anyway, so we're gonna, what do you notice, or how do you interpret distress in another person? So again, this is the practice of making observations. What do you notice in this relationship that matters to you, that you interpret as distress? So first notice it, then name it, and then write it down. How do you know the other person's in distress? Just in case you're stuck, I'll say a few things that I've noticed. Tears, raised voice, um, someone's back as they're walking away from me, crossed arms. Those are a few things that I can recall. Hearing a moral judgment coming out of their mouth. And then use your empathic superpower. How do you imagine this person's feeling when they're in distress? Use your empathy to make a guess about what it would be like to be in that person's body when they're in distress. How do you imagine they feel? The one way that I learned early in my NVC practice that seemed to help with this empathy thing is if I think the other person's in distress and I wonder how they feel, all I need to do is remember a time when I was in distress and notice how I felt then, and then I can imagine that the other person might be feeling similarly. Since it's not a for sure thing, but it's a way to use my imagination to begin to have some empathy. And then make an empathy guess. What do you sense is important to them in their distress? What would they love to have happening that isn't happening? What would they love that seems to be missing for them in the moment? What do you sense is important to them? And then what could you say that might acknowledge their experience using your own words? So using your own language rather than some kind of NVC formula. How could you acknowledge their experience using your own words? So, for example, if someone just told you that a dear friend of theirs just died yesterday, I can imagine the other person's feeling sad, a sense of mourning. And I'm guessing that what's important to them is connection, healing, love. And so maybe I say to the other person, are you just really feeling sad right now because you're missing our friend? Yeah. It could be that simple. So be quiet while you think about it and do some writing. So let's connect. Tell me what you notice. What did you learn as you practiced empathy with a friend in distress? What did you connect to? What's it like for you? Love to hear some voices. I'm actually tempted to call on some people whose voice I was just thinking of you, Karen. I looked at your picture and I thought, I wonder how it is for Karen. I haven't heard her voice today. Go ahead, Karen.
Well, that's just creepy.
Some kind of cosmic thing, man.
Well, I had this thing happen, and it was like a club sandwich because it had two events in one, and so I had a double lesson. In conversation with my son, told me about what had happened just a few days before with him and my 6-year-old grandson, who I just adore. And he said that grandson came out of preschool or kindergarten and came into the car and had a really bad meltdown and was yelling and crying and my son is telling me about this. I wasn't there, and I said, "Oh boy, this is embarrassing." So as my son was telling me about his distress with my grandson, when I heard the story of my grandson and the pain that this little 6-year-old was in, and my son said, and he didn't know how to tell me what was going on. And then grandmother Karen came in. Well, wouldn't those needs cards be very useful so that you can teach him? And that didn't go over well. So lesson number one, because I rushed in to try to fix my grandson who wasn't even there. So I came in with my fix-it kit, and my son did not like that and said something about, well, there you go again, about NVC. And it wasn't until this exercise, that it was a double sandwich, because I felt the empathy for my grandson who wasn't there. I completely skipped over the distress that my son was expressing to me. That had I been wiser, I would have been more quick to give him empathy. And guessing what his feelings and needs were. So there's my story.
There's your sandwich. Catch your regret and your growth.
And just to acknowledge our habits are there, just to be able to forgive yourself for being so human. We do want to protect our little ones, and and we're learning that maybe there's something more effective. It'll always be this way. We'll keep learning things are more effective in different ways. And thank you for sharing that, Karen.
It actually meets a need for empathy for me as like the king of the fix-it jackals in the world. I just noticed that I've always got an idea of something that would help, and how when I hear other people expressing similar things, my heart towards myself softens, because I really see that where it's coming from. I mean, it's easy for me to see how grandma wants to help. Of course you want to contribute. There's a beautiful need underneath that fix-it jackal.
Whoops.
I don't know what that was. But I guess it meant that we were done with that one. Okay, so let's practice. We got time for one more practice. So let me share the screen again. And So we're done with that one. And the now we go to this dream of liberation. I know it would be easy if we got really free. That to me is like the essence of inner work, is that the effect of inner work is emotional liberation, as Marshall called it. So what's your dream of how you would show up in your relationships from now on? So just spend 2 or 3 minutes jotting down some ideas of how do you want to show up from now on in your relationships. This is at the level of aspiration and hope and anticipation.
Jim and Jory, you are muted.
Yes, we know. Okay, so the next, thank you. The next question is, let me get back to my screen here. I'm also, anyway, I don't need to explain what I'm doing. Next question is, what needs of yours are alive as you touch that vision you have? What needs of yours are alive as you touch that vision? So let me give you a quick example. Like I've heard some feedback in my life that I'm kind of cool as opposed to warm. And I'd love to be more warm in my relationships. And so the needs that are alive in me as I touch that vision it's really about love. It's about contribution. It's about healing, because I think my coolness comes from some old trauma that's in me about being, I don't need to go into that. And so those are some of the needs that are alive in me around my dream of warmth in relationships. So what needs are alive in you? Then one more chance to enjoy the life affirming shared power of savoring. Savoring just means to enjoy the pleasure of the beloved divine energy of those needs that are important to you.
Such an important thing to stop and be present and just hold. It's like holding yourself with care.
Maybe as you savor the needs, an image comes to mind that somehow is associated with those needs. Like for with warmth for me, I have this image of being with my sweetheart, watching a fire, either a campfire or a wood burning stove or some source of warmth, sitting at the sun at the beach, something like that. Helps me to have that sense of savoring of warmth and connection and love. And from that savoring, come up with a request of yourself. What's one step that you could take to move closer to living your vision? It can be a teeny tiny baby step. I mean, visions are big. It might be 500-year plans. So what's something that you could do over the next 24 hours that might be a small step in the direction of fulfilling your vision? And this is the kind of thing that's fun to publicly declare. So if you want to put it into the chat, what your intention is, the step that you're intending to take, the request you have of yourself, that would be fun. Also, if you'd like to say it out loud, we have time to hear a few from people. Last time I did this exercise, the step that I came up with was to include this visualization of the vision as part of my morning meditation. So after I wake up and stretch a little bit, I'm just laying there, or actually I'm in a particular yoga posture, and I'm just imagining generating warmth. And I'm doing it specifically with my sweetheart here. You know, imagining that I'm touching her more often if she wants to be touched, holding her hand, talking empathically with her. And I just make these little movies in my head. I do it every morning.
Really?
I do. Yeah. And I think it's helping. I have to ask you.
And you.
Yeah.
But I'll cut it short.
Someone like to share what's a step that you're willing to take? I might start picking on some of the certification candidates if they don't speak up, like Frankie or Juan.
And also just take a moment right now and think for yourself. Get really, really clear on what your step is. This is a really important part. And when you're clear, then share it with us.
Because we might get an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might learn something from you.
We all learn from each other.
Okay, I'll speak up.
Yay, Monica.
Okay, so so what I wrote was that when someone disagrees with me and I'm triggered, I'm going to take a time out immediately. And then I'm going to get empathy from another friend and self-empathy and empathy for the other, and in journaling.
Nice.
Nice.
That's
Thank
inspiring.
you, Monica.
Thank you.
That was great.
I love seeing your smile.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
Hi.
The first thing is to breathe, take a breath before I react or say anything, and consider that what that person said, is that really about me or is it about them? Are they really speaking? And that would help me not just knee-jerk reaction back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Very clear.
Thank you. And Carolina?
You're muted, Carolina.
I put a link in the chat pretty early on, so it's up at the top. I was really just blown away and inspired today listening to a YouTube, it was an interview on YouTube. Jon Stewart interviews Cory Booker. And Cory Booker just refused to judge anybody, group people in under labels and evaluate them. He was such an incredibly inspiring embodiment of nonviolent consciousness. I really, I just really appreciate him deeply. And that leads me to make a commitment to myself to just refrain from referring to groups of people with any evaluative language, to remember that every person in a group is an individual, and I have, no way of knowing their motivations. I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That inspires me.
Yeah, and what a gift it is to yourself as well as everybody else. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Carolyn.
And I see some things in the chat, and then we'll hear from David. Let me just
okay.
read what's in the chat here. An action step is to write a short letter to express my desire for connection with my daughter. I'll hold my wife's hand to prayer before every meal we share. Ask myself, if this is not about me, what is this about? This helps me move from moral judgment to empathy.
Nice.
During the morning pages each day, I will honestly do my statements of releases and affirmations very consistently. Recall these statements frequently throughout the day. Savoring the needs, detaching from sensory desires. Take my time, pause, go slowly. Thank you.
Yeah,
And David?
refrain from evaluative statements.
Yeah.
Did you read that one?
Well, that's what she just said.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
hers.
that was her,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Go ahead, David.
Okay, thank you. What I wrote as far as savoring the needs is detaching from sensory desires and deprivation, and starving the ego part of me and feeding the spirit part of me. There's a concept called the Dark Night of the Soul, written by St. John of the Cross, that I've read and embraced. And fasting is really huge. Fasting from media, electronics, food, coffee, tobacco, anything like that. If I fast for the longest I ever did, it was 9 days. It really helped me with my spiritual development. That to me is because then the fruits of the spirit that we're divine spark within us I can fan other people's spark and help it to take off burning. Likewise, my higher power will make mine grow. And then there's fruits of that: joy and peace and patience and kindness and love and self-control and things like that. So that's what I cherish as far as my needs go as a practice. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you,
Thank you
David.
for sharing that.
Yes, and we'll finish up with Juan, and then we will
Then
tell
I'll
you
say
some
something
announcements.
too.
Yep. Go ahead, Juan.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jerry. The one more step I will do is I will put on him in my appreciation journal to wake up the love energy, to feel the tenderness, because I'm sure the love over there, it's just something happened being covered. I want to wake it up through the appreciation to wake it up and let it follow my body, feel their energy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to acknowledge that it's not about being perfect. We're human. For all of us, we make these commitments, and yet there are a lot of old habits. And those habits come from our deep training. And so just giving ourselves permission to be human. And then when we wake up and we realize that maybe we haven't quite done things the way we had committed to, just to let it go and then start again. So give yourself permission to be human and remember what you're committing to.
Yes. So let's shift into the final stage of our group today. We usually share some resources for you, including a way to give money. Someone sent me a private chat and said that they had recently donated some money to the Center for Nonviolent Communication, and they wondered if CNVC had let me know. And they did. They did let me know. They didn't let me know who specifically gave money, but they did let me know that they had received a gift recently. And I really appreciate the gifts that you offer directly to the Center for Nonviolent Communication, which is the organization that Marshall Rosenberg started back in, about 1989 or something like that. So if you would like to give some monies directly to CNVC, there's a link there.
And we'd love it when you let us know too, because then we can celebrate with you.
Yeah, and sometimes we even remember to send you a thank you note. And I don't always do that. It's on my aspiration list to send thank you notes, and I do sometimes, but I also it's something that I
You have a big to-do list.
I have I have to forgive myself for that one sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can also, if you don't want to give money to CNBC and you want to support some of the other NVC projects that Jory and I are involved with, you can give money directly to us and we'll pay it forward. We've been helping. We helped this last year. We helped Amina in the Philippines with a project, certified trainer in the Philippines, and we also helped Ramanusha in Sri Lanka with a project. And soon we'll be hearing.
And we helped the people in near Russia.
Yes, we did, the Ukrainians and the Russian trainers.
Right.
And also we will be, we're going to be hopefully hearing from Sudha, not today, but one day real soon, about a project in India that we're excited to support. And also we do, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the call, we record these classes and you're free to use them in your own practice groups or for your own growth or whatever, spread them around however you like. They show up two places. One is on our website, pathwaystoliberation.com, and the other is we have our own YouTube channel called Radical Compassion, which somehow has grown to about 150 subscribers. I don't really never have been much into social media, but it's just, I can see the dopamine hit of seeing more subscribers. So that's fun. And to see that people are actually watching the videos is meaningful.
And I would like you to know that I welcome you connecting with me. There's a link that Jim's about to put into the chat if you would like to have some support in your path, or if you're in the need of some empathy, you can make an appointment at that address, jory.youcanbook.me. The advantage of having such a strange first name, I don't even have to put my last name there. And I welcome a deeper connection, and in particular, I welcome the opportunity to contribute to you if you're needing support.
And the final link for today is a really long link from the New York Times, but it's a relationships quiz that might be fun since we're working on relationships. I found this a very meaningful quiz to take. It's a free link. I get to give away certain articles a certain number of articles each month. So I keep giving this one away to you guys. If you haven't done it yet, I highly recommend this fun little interactive quiz from the New York Times. And that wraps it up for today. Next week, we will continue our exploration of relationships, and we'll be working on a concept called refusing submission. And basically, this is about healing the domination system that we've all inherited from our well-meaning ancestors, and how it spills into relationships, and how we can take responsibility for refusing to buy in to that old model from now on. And so that's what we'll work on next week. Go ahead, Tanya.
I was a little bit late, so I don't know if you mentioned that today is Martin Luther King Day. And I just want to give a shout out to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, how he was a seminal person for me. He's was my hero ever since I was in high school, and he died when I was a junior in high school. And he probably was my first MVC instructor.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tanya. Yeah, we did mention him, so that's a nice other piece of the sandwich to have you bring him back in for us at the end of the class. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the end of the class, it's arrived, and we always have an after party. A few people usually stick around and hang out and do some more practice and connection. If you would like to do that, we'll set you up with a friend to meet and hang out for as long as you like. We just leave the call open for as long as you would like. And I did see one last thing. There's someone in the earlier in the class asked for some support around sensations, if there was a list of sensations. I've got one, but I couldn't find it before the class ended. So I'll bring it next week. And so we can, it's especially designed for people that have suffered some kind of traumatic event in their life and maybe have trouble with answering the question, how do you feel? It's a way of gently beginning to be able to explore what our body feels like. So I'll bring that next week as well.
So what we'll do is we will leave the rooms open. We'll open it up to have you go into breakouts. If you find yourself alone when you get into that breakout, just give us a couple minutes and we'll put you with somebody, because I don't know how many people in your group will be staying. But feel free to just wait a few minutes, and if you want to connect with other people.
Aloha, everybody. I'm going to turn the recording off. Bye-bye.
And thank you for joining us and taking in this world and helping to create the world we'd like everyone to live in.
Aloha.
You're doing a big part. Thank you.